Hi everyone, I'm Jay Galen with the Ford Drum Company. I'm CEO. You've been watching my partner Jimmy Ford, the great Jimmy Ford, president of Ford Drums, demoing our new Maverick series, which I'd like to talk about today. So what makes the Maverick so unique? Well, the first thing you're going to notice about this drum line is its unique finish. This is our BTS elastomer that actually contains something called Kevlar, which is what they use in bulletproof vests. This is an application that we actually spray on. It's not a laminate, it's not a wrap. It's sort of applied like a lacquer. But what's so great about this is it's bulletproof. So if you want a drum kit that you can take on the road and just let it out, have at it, don't worry about a roadie messing with it, a mic stand falls over, a guitar stand falls over, you don't have to worry about these drums at all. That's the beauty of this remarkable BTS elastomer finish. Now, the drums themselves are as unique as the finish that's on them. And believe it or not, this is a super high-end drum kit, but this is our low line, the Ford Econo line, if you'll pardon the pun. This is a super high-end kit. If you look at this drum shell here, it's a 10-ply shell. Now, we're the one drum company out there that believes that a thicker shell is a better shell, and I can explain why. Drums themselves aren't resonant. Shells aren't resonant. It's the heads that resonate. So when you hit the head, you want a solid, rigid sound chamber so that that sound will project. That means a thicker shell is going to give you much more range in terms of your tuning and much more projection. That means the audience is going to be able to hear it. It's not a near-field instrument anymore. It doesn't have to be close mic'd for it to sound good. You don't have to be on top of the drums for it to sound good. These drums you can actually hear in the neighborhood next to you. The sound travels that far. But if you look at the drums, it's 10-ply, North American maple, and the insides are finished beautifully with nitrocellulose, if you can see that there. We spend a lot of time on the inside of the instrument, and the reason being is the sound wave is bouncing inside the instrument. This is what's determining the tone. This is what's giving you that unique character, the heads and the inner ply. Now, I'm sure you've heard stories about mixed woods and drum shells. It's, well, a bunch of hooey, and I'm going to show you why. That sound wave that bounces around in here can't penetrate the plies and the glue and the plies and the glue and the plies of the glue in a ply drum shell. It can only be affected by what's happening in here, which is why we spend so much time on the inside of this instrument. So the nature of nitrocellulose is it seals the wood, protects it, yet it allows the pores to breathe. So you're actually getting the true tone of the maple, yet you're getting enhanced projection, and not only does the audience hear what you're doing, the drums sound better to the drummer. The other thing that we do on these drums, if you look at this bearing edge, every bearing edge on every drum we make, whether it's a 10, 12, 14, 16, this is a 22-inch bass drum, there's a 5.5 by 14 snare in this fusion configuration here, every bearing edge is different. And we do that for a reason. We cut the appropriate edge for the size of the drum and the purpose of the drum. So the smaller toms get a slightly sharper edge, and as the drums get bigger, the edge gets rounder and fatter. That means there's more edge touching the drum head. It's like a bridge on a guitar, where the thicker string gets a thicker member of the bridge. That enhances the tone of each string. Same thing with drum heads. It enhances the tone of the drum head. When you have more head-to-shell contact with that increased bearing edge, the proper bearing edge for the shell, it enables your tuning range to be much greater. And with a thicker, more rigid shell, you get something called a pure tone. A thinner shell gives you more overtones. That's true. But the problem with a thinner shell is that you can only find one comfortable spot to park the heads. And if you're using an acoustic instrument in an acoustic room, you have to adjust for the room. If you're playing outside, you have to adjust for the fact that you're playing outside. So a thinner shell, if you can only park the heads in one spot for them to sound good, you're incredibly limited with the sound that you're going to get based on the room that you're in or the environment that you're in. With these drums, you can tune them up, you can tune them down, you can use them for jazz, bebop, funk, fusion, rock. Doesn't matter. Change out the heads, tune them up, tune them down. This drum kit will give you everything you need. The other thing I'd like to talk to you about in regard to how these drums are constructed is our lug. But our lugs are hand machined out of aircraft aluminum. In here there's an insert a brass insert that moves front and back and side to side, which allows for perfect alignment of the tension rod. Now, why is that important? Well, it's not how many threads you have on a tension rod that matters. That would be like having a really small tire on a big car. It just has to go around and around and around. It takes more rotations for the car to travel the same distance. So it's not the number of threads on the tension rod. What matters is that tension rod being straight so that you get accurate tuning. That's the key there, and that's what this lug provides you with. And since this lug is machined out of aircraft aluminum, it means it won't rust, it won't pit, it's solid, there are no voids inside, nothing's going to rattle. And this drum, you're going to take it out on tour, you're going to be caught in a rainstorm, someone's going to throw a beer at you, whatever it happens to be. It could be a school environment, and the kids are rough on it. Doesn't matter. Nothing's going to happen to the finish. Nothing's going to happen to the lugs. This is the most durable drum kit that money can buy. And it's also one of the best sounding drum kits that money can buy due to the fact that it's constructed so beautifully. And then look at the screws that are inside. Aircraft stainless in everything that we do. Super, super high-end drum. And that's the Maverick series. If you're a touring guy, you don't want to worry about scratching your very expensive lacquer finish or having a wrap that's could be subject to the elements, where it would be in an environment in a hot car where the wrap starts to lift and bubble. You want a drum kit you don't have to worry about. It is always going to sound great. This is what you want, the Ford Maverick.
1, 2, 3, 4.
How I got into making drums was that everything that I played out in the market, I wasn't satisfied with. So then I decided that I'm going to start a drum company. I wanted the instrument to speak for me, so I wouldn't have to work as hard, so I wouldn't have to pound so loudly to get a sound out of the instrument. What makes these drums heirloom instruments is the fact that we're not building a commodity. These are not disposable items. These drums will be able to be handed down to generations. The pure fact that we put every ounce of energy, our love, our passion into each drum is the reason why we were compared to Stradivarius, to Ferrari, and that's what makes us Ford drums. Go and visit our website at forddrums.com.